We always think, what can I be doing? I should be, working out or working on the practice or just go, go, go. And that time to think, whether you meditate or not, or pray, or just go lay in the park. But that is where those big plans and big things that you want for your life percolate up. And then you can work backwards from there.
Hey everybody, it's me, Dr. Glenn Krieger, here with another episode of the Orthopreneurs Podcast. Today, returning our two-time Jeopardy champion, Dr. Jeannie Moody. Welcome, Jeannie.
Thanks, Glenn. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
Awesome.
And for those of you keeping track at home, yes, in fact, this is her second time on the podcast. Last time was audio only, and I know video is just simple for you. Just jump on in and get it going, right?
No pressure, right? Yeah.
None. And just for my fellow Texan here, it feels good, by the way, Jeannie. I'll say it so nobody's really watching. It's nice to say fellow Texan because now I'm a Texan, right?
Yeah.
Which makes me feel good. So for behind her, for all you Aggie fans and Baylor fans and TCU fans, we got burnt orange on the show today. That's all I'm saying. I'm leaving it there. That's the closest I could come in an LED burnt orange. I'm just saying. It's more of a pink, but it's what we're going to get.
I think it's time to upgrade your bookshelf, don't you think? This is like third or fourth year of this thing?
Yeah, I haven't had tools and titans forever, but the funny thing is
they're piling up on top of each other.
So I have a pile downstairs that my wife wants to kill me over. I legitimately have about 75 books downstairs, of which I've only read about 20. And every week I find like another name. I'm talking to somebody and they mention a book and I buy it and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So we decided we're going to rebuild our house. And when we do, I'm just going to move the books then. So this is all going to change in the next year because at some point we're rebuilding and I'm going to have to move this and I have no idea where I'm going to do my podcast from. So I might be in my car with a stack of books along the back windshield somewhere, which will be fun to watch. So last time we chatted, we had some great conversations and I want to jump into those a little bit in just a minute, just to recap them again. But you've got an amazing story. You have an inspirational story that I think many heard, but may have forgotten and many have never heard before. So like your life, I joked with you earlier, your life was like an episode of Naked and Afraid in the like Kenyan jungle, where you see that person out there with like, they get a fig leaf and a compass and that's all they've got and they figured out a way to do it. And do you mind explaining to everybody a little bit about what got you here? Let's start there. How'd you end up here?
So, if we're taking it way back, born and raised by my dad in a small town in Colorado and was voted most likely to be convicted. I was playing sports and partying and having the greatest time that you can have with, a class of 26 kids in the middle of the mountains. And no desire to go to college, none of that. And a teacher pulled me aside and said, you're a leader, whether you want to be or not. And the direction you choose to lead is up to you, but they follow you. And I had, I think we were like our junior year and the teacher went to take a phone call back when we had phones. And I convinced the whole class to like army crawl out of science. And so I remember, and so he came back and we were all gone and we were like, hiding in the halls and
what grade was this?
This was like junior year of high school, from a small town. One time I convinced, we had no maroon balloons, middle of nowhere, no Walmart, no nothing. So I had a brilliant idea. We would spray paint all the balloons maroon. And so then we walked in and they popped and like splatter painted the halls. I had to repaint the halls in high school, but lots of things like that. So he just said, the direction you choose to lead is super important. And that had never dawned on me. And then I went off to college at University of Florida, wanted to be a nursing major. They said, you have no chemistry. I said, well, there's no chemistry class offered in my small town. And ended up just starting with basics and got into dental school. And then no one knew I was applying for ortho. I liked oral surgery. And so I only applied 2 places and got in where I'm from, back at Colorado. And then, I think, I came to Austin. I knew nobody, was not married, and decided I was moving here and buying a building. And my family thought that was just the dumbest idea. And I told them this year, I said, who is dumb to buy that building now?
Right.
In Austin, Texas.
Yeah. Who saw that coming?
Yeah. Yeah. So that sort of, like you said, it all worked out, but I definitely had some hiccups. I was married and had, at the time, 6-month-old twins, and my son, I think, was about 3, and just was in a situation where I could stay or go as far as my marriage. And there was some mental health stuff. And I was in the middle of opening a satellite, and it was summer. And I just thought, man, if this could just wait till fall, if there could just be a better time to, leave this marriage or, make this big move. But there wasn't. It came to full head. And so I left my house, and took a while to get my house and property back. But I had 3 kids under 3, and we were moving every 2 weeks to vacation rental for about 8 weeks in the summer. And I just would show up at work and put my pants on, and it was business. It was spreadsheets and checklists, and they had no idea what was happening at home. I didn't have any vulnerability at all. And I thought, man, I'm a good leader. I've read these books. I've got checklists, and I was not a good leader. And I finally got through it, got the satellite open, and then I would just sit around and, eat brownies with my nanny and, watch reality TV, which was, good for me at the time because life was so stressful. But then I just realized this isn't what I want to do. This isn't me. And so I started the journey with fitness first and mindset. And then, here I was fit, lost 30 pounds, felt better, but I was burned out. And someone called me recently that heard me speak in 2020, and she thought, how could you ever be burned out? And, now she's burned out, and she's, finding solutions for herself. But I just wanted to sell it all, and I was burned out. And so the last place I applied all this learning was in the business world, which I don't know why it took me so long to apply all these things into my life. But I went and told my team I wasn't a great leader, and looked in the mirror a lot, and I'm still doing it and still evolving. But I can say today I've got the best team I've ever had, and our culture is so damn strong. And naked and afraid, and literally, sleeping in my car and all kinds of crazy stuff. Wow. But I showed up and put my pants on and went to work. Hustle, which I later realized, got me so far in life, but it wasn't the answer anymore. And it was actually inhibiting my growth in a lot of ways, which that's sometimes a hard pill to swallow as orthodontists, because we're very full of grit, a lot of us, and hustle. And sometimes it's not always the way.
Yeah. And that's what our first podcast was really a lot about. It was about you taught me a lot in that moment about vulnerability, about the ability to say, hey, you know what? I'm not doing this right. Or I'm not the best at this, or it's okay to admit that I need more help, and it's okay to reach out. Because a lot of people in ortho, maybe people listening right now, appreciate the fact that they got to where they are because they push, and you cannot keep me down. And on one hand, I think there's a great message in accepting the fact that you can make excuses or you can do hard work, right? Like, woe is me. Look what happened to me. I've got 3 kids, 3 and under. Everybody help me. And I can't do this. And I'm just turning off to the world, versus I got 3 kids under 3. I need to solve this problem. I may not have the skill set I need to get there, but I'm going to push hard, and I'm going to get as much help as I can, because I know I need help, but I know the first help starts with me. And you typify that, and kudos to you for doing it. And that podcast legitimately, was that 2020? It had to be before 2020.
Yeah. Pre-COVID.
It was pre-COVID. I thought it was 2019.
Yeah. It was actually.
Maybe even earlier. That podcast with you, and I would encourage anybody here right now who's listening to please go back and find that podcast episode. That podcast episode changed my life. It really took me from coming to work after 25 years of being in practice and being, I'm the leader, I know what I'm doing, I can do this, to all of a sudden realizing, what am I not doing that can make me better? It's okay for me to tell my team, I don't know. Hey, I need help with this. Or
I messed up, because that's a hard one for us.
This one's on me, folks. I screwed this one up, and this is not your fault. This is my fault. And I know it's not about fault, but don't feel bad, because this is on me, and let's see what we can do to move forward and fix this. And that changed my practice. And so I have to say thank you. I think that was even pre-RD. I don't even think you were an Entrepreneur's RD member at that point.
And what's funny? I thought we were going to talk about a podcast, because I'd never done a podcast. And you were just like, hey, I'm Glenn. Nice to meet you. Let's roll this thing. And I remember just thinking, crap, like right now, this is the podcast. So it's funny. I need to listen back, but I probably sound nervous as ever. But thanks for giving me the chance.
You sounded amazing. And again, as I tell anybody who comes on the podcast, and if anybody out there listening wants to be on the podcast, reach out to me, because we all have a story to tell. And while I will act as a moderator, this is really more about your story. I get so much out of every one of these episodes from the people I talk to. I mean, Mike DePascal a couple of weeks ago, I got so much out of his podcast, and there's so much good to learn. And one of the things I mentioned is like you joined Orthopreneurs RD, which gave me an opportunity to meet with you a few times a year at certain meetings. And, you know, it's so funny because the vision I had in my head of who you were back then versus the really strong, great leader that I now know. It's funny to see either you've evolved in that time I've known you, or it's amazing how you just, you know, that podcast and who you are. It's just amazing. So, but let's talk about some other stuff. Let's move on and discuss a few things. You're speaking at Summit in September, which is going to be great. If you're not registered out there, we're almost completely full. Team track filled up like 4 months ago. Spouse track completely filled, I think. And I think like we're 80% done with the I was going to say adults, but I think we're 80% done with doctor things. So go to opsummit2022.com, opsummit2022.com to sign up. Jeannie's just one of a ton of amazing speakers who are going to be there. And again, it's like the podcast. I want people to be real. I want them to just get on stage and, you know.
I want you to get me a Longhorn to ride in on.
If I could, I would, but I'd have to do it for everybody.
I'm working on the Matthew McConaughey context. I don't think that's going to go anywhere.
No, I don't think it will. But hey, in Summit, back at Gillies, if you were in Dallas, there was a Longhorn that you could get on. That was the most drugged animal I've ever seen in my life. I have friends who drank heavily in college in fraternity who were less drunk than that thing was. But that was fun. And I don't think everybody wants a steer with snot coming out of its nose walking down the hallway. But your talk is about emotional intelligence being your superpower, right? And
are we doing that talk?
I don't know.
That's great.
What are you going to talk about?
That was my talk pre-COVID. I didn't know that's great. But,
so what's your talk now? You see, people, this is how it really works. I want everybody to know this is not about me with some preset notion. I want people to bring so what do you want to talk about?
That was 2 years ago or whatever, 3 years ago.
I know, but you were so good at it.
So now I wanted to talk about just my evolution. You know, the practice turned 10 this year. And so I think just the evolution of leadership, because, you know, I've changed in the last quarter over last year and I think just continuing to grow, but also imagining bigger things for yourself and dreaming, imagining, just keeping, like you did a 5-minute Friday last week, which was great, but keeping your eye on the big game rather than the muck and getting stuck in it.
Yeah.
And whether it's good or bad, you know, victory or something, a defeat, you have to put it in the frame of reference of the obstacle is away and kind of where are you going? Because you're going to wake up and it's going to be 5 years from now. And are you going to be the same person? Is your practice going to be the same? Like you said, are you going to be miserable? Are you going to be burned out? Are you going to be, you know, off doing some grand wellness retreat that we all want to visit or whatever your big dream is? But I think people get stuck in the vortex and lose sight of that. And I think that's just, it's so important to spend time, you know, alone and by yourself and think. We're guilty of not really taking any time. We always think, what can I be doing? I should be, you know, working out or working on the practice or just go. And that time to think, whether you meditate or not, or pray, or just go lay in the park. But that is where those big plans and big things that you want for your life percolate up. And then you can work backwards from there. But I see a lot of our colleagues that are burned out, are miserable, but I'll talk to them. I'll coach them just on what worked for me. But then I'll see them a year and 2 years later, you know, and it, you know, it's the same place. I talked to John Pham. He said, you know, you asked Michael Jordan how he did what he did. He told you to shoot a free throw like that. You do it every single time the same way. But when other people tell you to read something or do something, you know, a lot of people don't do it. And
you invoke John Pham. Like you brought John Pham into this. So
because I just was talking to him about like conquering the world, and I love those conversations.
We had an RD meeting at the Fairmont, Los Angeles, just a week or two ago. And we brought in the whole Stanford Airway team to sort of help us and our dental teams, our GPs, our myofunctional therapists, oral surgeons, ENTs, so we could come together scientifically and create those little groups in our communities of people doing better care for sleep disordered breathing, for that sort of stuff. And John Pham in LA area comes in, and like the problem with John, and I love John. So anybody to embrace, make sure John hears this. The problem is like Jeannie and I could be having like a regular conversation about, hey, how about the Longhorns? How about the Mavericks, the Stars? How's Austin? How's Dallas? Then John comes in and like it gets real. Like instantly it's like, so tell me the greatest thing you'd like to achieve in the next 12 months and how you plan on getting there. And you're like, okay, it just got real. And John is one of those guys who helps you dream. And you wish, I'll just say this out loud. When I first met him, I tell him this, I thought it was total BS. I was like, who really talks like this? Like he couldn't be really like this. And then you spend time with him and you realize like this guy legitimately wants to make the world a better place. Like he really wants everybody to live to their next level. And he's also going to call you on your BS, totally going to call you on his BS. And he makes you think bigger. And I think part of what you were getting at just a minute ago, and I think what you've probably talked to John about is you can have all these dreams of what you want. And like Keith Cunningham, the great entrepreneur, will say, you need thinking time, right? You need time to sit down and think about this stuff. But realistically, are you being honest? I think one of the things John would tell you is, are you being honest with yourself? Like, are you saying to people, oh, I'm going to lose 30 pounds because it's what you think they want to hear and it makes you sound good? Or are you going to say, I've been struggling losing weight for the last year and I endeavor to figure out why I can't lose these 30 pounds. And I'm going to do my damnedest to see how I can figure out why and how I'm going to lose this weight, which is a lot different than going, oh, I'm going to lose 30 pounds. Right?
Yeah.
Is that kind of like,
and why? And with anything, like why? Because, because that guy did it, because you did it, to really rein it into your why and what you're trying to do, then things mean a lot more to you and you've got a lot better chance of, chipping away at them or actually making them happen if there's a why behind it. But we lose sight of that. But yeah, I had Jim Gleason and I about, meditation.
Stop mentioning these people.
Sauna. But I love, that's the conversations that I love. One conversation I said, you guys are talking about torque. I'm out,
Did you say in the sauna?
No, Jim bought a sauna. And so.
Oh, I thought you were talking to Jim in the sauna.
No,
I'm like, where was I for this one?
Hey, I was in the sauna. None of you guys were there. That was an amazing spot, the Fairmont. But talking about leveling up in whatever arena in your life or how they tie together, I could talk about that kind of stuff all day. And it's great to find people who are really passionate in these things and actually think about it. And I wish more of us would pause and, if you have to take a cut in money or work less days of the year, I think that it would help reframe, because I feel like a lot of orthos are working for tomorrow and next week and next year. Yep. And in 5 years, I'm going to sell and then I'm going to do this. I feel like there's a lot of future and a real lack of presence. And so,
and by the way, Jim Gleason Jim is one of the greatest human beings that a lot of orthodontists don't know who he is, right? Because he's so humble, such a small ego. He's always happy. If you need more Jim Gleasons in your life, you really do. And Jim's also a member of Orthopreneurs RD, and he's one of those people. Sorry, Jim, you're the kind of guy who's going to be really embarrassed with us talking about you, so we won't do it for long.
Yeah.
But everybody who meets Jim loves Jim, and he's just that kind of guy.
And on health and wellness, you say, oh, I read this, and he'll be like, I got the name of the stem cell clinic. Oh, I've got the name of this device.
I visited them and I spoke to the owner.
Next level meditation of that guy.
Me and Jerry Wesley, we went. Again, Jerry and Jim, the two of them together, are like my. I don't utilize them as my wellness coaches the way I should, but everybody needs two
Jim
guys.
For sure.
They're amazing people, but going back to what you said about being in the present and the future, and I think the podcast you were referring to of mine was where I talked about, are you transactional or are you tactical, right? If that's the one you were referring to, and that's a famous Gary Vaynerchuk thing, Gary V. I've spent a lot of time with him. I'm seeing him again later this summer. He's got his amazingness, and there are areas that I would not emulate of Gary's. But the question that always comes down is is what you're doing right now to create a solution to a problem you have right now? Or is what you're doing right now, whether it's marketing, growth, fitness, health, religion, spirituality, whatever, belief in self, whatever you want to call it, or are you creating a solution that's a long-term fix? Like I could fast the next 3 days and fit into that suit for that big Met Gala, right? Or I could take a look at my diet and wonder, how can I get there over the next 2 years so I extend my life?
Well, and seeing things, I'm trying to find the right associate. It hasn't been the right fit for our culture. I think I talked to you about bringing in an office manager. I think that was last year. Flew her here, moved her here. I paid her $5,000 and I vetted her, and I felt really strong in my hire. And within 6 weeks, I just, she wasn't for me, and my coach at the time said, one question, do you trust her? And I said, no. And, it was over something stupid, but I had to let her go, eat the money. And we still, finished our year at our goals were met. And it really helped me for this year when some of these associates weren't quite in our core values. They didn't fit our culture. And I felt that angst in my heart. And I just said, look, this isn't the right fit, no hard feelings, but to make those decisions to protect your house, to protect your team, and to make them quickly and soon, whether it be with patients. I mean, no amount of money is worth it. This has been the year that I stand up and say, we're not for you, but my treatment coordinator stands up and says, you don't have to meet this person. We're not for them. Awesome. You're empowered to do that. So I think really protecting
you have a treatment coordinator who doesn't want you to treat a patient? How dare they?
Yeah. Right? And shocker. It was a doctor that slammed the door and ran out. But, just protecting your house at all costs. And, I remember I said to my coach, what if I get known as, Jeannie's such a bitch. She hires all these people, lets them go. And he said, what if you get known as the person that lets people, tarnish your culture and keeps people too long? And, that made me think too. So I think really what is a long-term, and I don't look at the money. Before, I remember thinking how much that manager cost me, and, associates aren't cheap. And I haven't once gone, man, I spent, X thousands of dollars. It's more of, if this is a $50,000 education to build the empire that I'm trying to build, and whatever your goal is, with regards to that, then take the education, and obstacles away, read all these books and wasn't able to apply them until the last few years. And just really seeing that learning opportunity and seeing the chance for growth in everything is key. And on books, I'll tell you too, I'm reading some book now. I don't remember the name of it, but it's talking about the next day after perfect. So, you and I tried 75 hard. We're not bored anymore, but
I was never going to, you tried, okay. I would never, because I'll be the first to say, I think it's the dumbest thing on the planet, but
it's dumb, but
for certain people, it's the most important thing on the planet, right? That's why to me, it would mean absolutely nothing, because it doesn't, but for some people, it means everything.
So, but that's with anything, with how many books you're going to read or what you're going to do. You fall off.
Resonate.
Yeah, but you fall off. And then it's this new book I'm reading is about what happens the day after you fall off, the day after you fail. And as orthodontists, I'd say most of us are perfectionists. Most of us, we fail, it's it, you fail. And so, with reading and books on tape, I would fail. I would read half of a book. I had so many books. And if I zoned out, I would rewind it, or I would reread the 2 pages that I zoned out. And now let it ride, let it play. I'm going to get one thing out of it. And the same with things you're doing, like in your practice, just start. It may not be a perfect execution, or it may not be, I wanted a sauna, full blown asana. And to me, hey, that's a simple thing. No, it was a grand slam. And I realize I'm always going for grand slams. So to dial it back and do singles and do, if all of my team had $5,000 on the table to solve one problem this week, could we do it? Hell yeah. So get everyone on that one problem and take it, at more of that sniper approach to the bullseye. Because that's been a big one for me too, is thinking that they get what I'm saying. And I've got 6 different ideas and I'm all over the map. And I think, oh, it's so simple. And then, why didn't they do it? Well, they want to please you. So they say, okay, but to them, they were grand slams. So breaking things down, and then realizing you're still making progress has been big. Because I thought it was, and I was not.
Yeah. I just had that conversation with Doug, my partner, this morning, because we've had some changes in our practice. We've let some people go. Some people have left on their own. And it's been really good for us culturally, right? It's kind of funny how people are just not a good cultural fit, ultimately find their way out. And I really do, the old saying, I invite them to succeed elsewhere. Very few people have ever left my practice. And I was like, that person should, they should rot in hell. It's never been like that with me. There's been a couple of times I've been tempted, but it doesn't make me a better person to do that. So, just like, I just hope everybody lands where they belong and that nobody gets hurt in their pathway, because certain people can be toxic. But you mentioned something earlier, which I want to go back to for a second, because you said a lot of good things there. For me, money is so importantly unimportant, meaning I must be focused on the money in my practice to some extent, right? No money, no mission. If our practice is not meeting its goals, if we're not serving it the way we need to, then I can't afford to keep my team. I can't afford to use better technologies. I can't afford to go to CE. I can't afford to take time off and turn off and become a better person and a better father and a better husband and a better, leader. So money is important because, you're running a business. Like none of us joined the Peace Corps and opened up a practice, right? Like money is important. But at the end of the day, in the broader picture, up close, from a transactional perspective, money is important, right? Transactionally, every day we want to look at our day sheet and see a good day sheet. But tactically, money is absolutely unimportant because, Doug and I finally convinced Doug to take some time off with me and my wife and his wife. My son is going to Israel to do a year gap year. He's not ready for college. I love my son. He is just not ready for college, even though he thinks he is. So I was like, take some time off. I'm a big fan I started college at 16, right? I started dental school at 20. I'm a huge fan of do not rush your kids. Just let them find their place. If they're good kids, they'll do just fine, right? Even if they're voted most likely to be convicted, like Jeannie.
Yeah,
Moody.
right.
But so we're going to drop them off in Israel in August, at the end of August. I'm like, Doug, come along with Rachel, you and your wife, join me and Alyssa. We're going to go. And Doug, please don't hate me for telling this story because I think it's a good story. And I said, you guys come with us. We'll go. We'll spend 10 days there. You'll learn some of the language. I'll show you around. We'll meet some people I know. We even have an RDer, Josh Waxpress, who I went to high school with. Who's an ortho in Israel. He's an RDer in Israel. So it's like, let's have a great time and just spend 10 days seeing the country and you're going to have a great time. And he's like, yeah, but we got the summit a week and a half later and we're going to be out of the office a lot. And I'm like, I said something to him that, only age will teach you. And I hope other people out here listening get this because it took me decades to learn this. And again, I'll say that many people get these lessons faster than I do because I do not have very great emotional intelligence. I tended to put money above a lot in terms of production. But in 20 years from now, and I know right now, Jeannie, you're 23 years old, right?
Yeah.
And so how old is your oldest now, by the way?
He's 8.
Yeah. So you're 23 years old at this point. When you're 43 years old, you will not remember what your production for August was. You will not ever remember. Your practice will be fine. You're going to do great. And I said to Doug, 25 years from now, when you're in your 60s, you will not remember what the production of your office was, but you will always remember the memories you make on that trip. Now, that doesn't mean go take a 2-week or a week and a half trip every 2 months. And some can, but money is tactically unimportant. It is transactionally very important. And I've started looking at my life in things that are transactionally important and tactically. What is long-term super important? My kid spilled milk. At that moment, the dog is drinking the milk. It's going to get sick. It's going to be a crappy night. I got to clean this up. But if I scream at my kid over dumping the milk, tactically, is that really the right move? Is my kid going to remember a year from now that the dog drank some milk? Or is he going to remember that he made a little mistake and I screamed my head off at him? And for me, tactically versus transactionally, I should have a lecture on that because that has changed my life and the way we look at it. And I think you're really good at that.
Yeah, I wanted to go to Jocko Willink and Leif Babbitt Extreme Ownership. They have a leadership meeting in Denver, and I wanted to go, but we already had 17 patients. And so I said, oh, well, first it was 10 and then it was 17. And
it's hard.
I don't want to reschedule. It's a summer. And then I thought, that's my leadership ability. Like, for me to be a better leader, what's going to matter in a year, 5 years, opposed to 17 people being inconvenienced a month in advance. And so did it, bought the tickets, moved the patients. And, my coach, we set yearly goals and your big stuff and crazy, big, hairy, audacious goals in each arena. And, he said, which one of these are the most important to you? Body, being, business, spirituality, whatever. And I said, being, spending time with my kids. And so I've already gone on like 4 trips, in quarter one, little, weekend here, weekend there.
Girls' weekends.
Yeah, these ones were with my kids. But yeah, my girlfriends went to Mexico. I ended up needing knee surgery after some drunk mud puddle bike riding. My girlfriend's from my hometown that I grew up with. So I got knee surgery. So now I'm back.
Mud puddle bike riding.
Yeah, on Isla Holbox, there's puddles that are like several feet deep. And so we were just
what could go wrong?
Head on. I know. And then, I was like, I got to take a golf cart. And then finally I was like, I'm flying home a day early. Like, something's not right. So,
oh my gosh.
But I got that fixed up, prioritizing my body too and going and, getting knee surgery. But,
just everybody out there, enjoy your lives. I'm just saying that. I'm not an old man yet. I'm just telling you, I wish I could go back to when I first started my practice and I was transactionally interested in what happened every day. But I wish early on I took more time off. Not because of my kids. I spent a lot of time with my kids and that was great. But you will not remember the weekend or the week you took off to enjoy yourself, right?
And invest in yourself. Yes. And invest in yourself. We invest sometimes a lot in our team, but like, invest in yourself as a leader or your health or whatever it is, because there's only one you. And so that's something I was always, maybe it's a mom thing, but the kids have everything and your team has stuff, but I would debate over some stupid thing that costs, $100 or whatever, that sort of fear-based mindset. Yeah. And to then just switch over to that abundant mindset, take care of yourself and invest on yourself, because that's a huge, my accountant called and was like, you spent how much on leadership coaching? Right. And I was like, are the numbers where they need to be? And he said, yeah. I said, well, look at the last few years, year over year, I've spent more money on me, on being a better person and leader. So.
And by the way, it's not a mom thing. I'm sure moms obviously, but you asked, is it a mom thing? I was the same exact way. My team would be getting Kendra Scott necklaces for hitting a goal. And, my wife, I'd get her something. And I try to whenever I traveled for a course, I'd bring my kids home something. And my wife was like, just get yourself something. Like, I don't know what you want, but you need to treat yourself to something. But she didn't realize that the gift was for the giver. And I was really enjoying giving to other people because that was my journey. But you did talk about investing in yourself. And I know we don't have all day to talk about stuff, but I do want to touch coaching, because I know that you spend a lot of your money on that. And I spend obscene amounts of money on coaching and groups masterminds I belong to. And I think it's so interesting that so many of our peers don't see the value. Like, if I said to you, I've got a coach who's going to help you get in balance, get more done so you can spend more time with family, be more productive, be a better leader, and maybe chop a few years off your journey to get to where you want to be, but it's going to cost you $35,000. Yeah. I will have lost 95% of the orthodontists at that point have just turned off and go, $35,000? Yeah, for 6 months. It'd be $35,000 for 6 months. You're out of here. Because I paid that for one of my coaches. Yeah. And for 6 months, you're going to pay $35,000? Yeah, I'll pay $35,000 for 6 months. Because if it shortens my journey by 3-4 years, if it allows me to have wisdom and guidance to help me make better decisions, but you believe in the same thing, right?
Yeah, we were just talking about coaches in different organizations because I've, kind of graduated away from my coach. But yeah, I spent, so much money in the first quarter and then called him and said, hey, I need you the rest of the year. And then, brought him into my office this year, which has been great. But to me, I remember that. I remember my first coach was like $6,000 for a quarter. And I was like, ugh. And now I'm spending upwards of what you're spending for 6 months easily. But to take these strides and the other thing is in my personal life, letting go of a nanny I loved and had for many years and getting an au pair and just, finishing projects and relationships with your, biologic family and all these other aspects that a lot of us, I don't get therapy or tap into. Maybe I should, but to me, the coach kind of ties all of it together, and having someone, entrepreneurs or people that aren't ortho, that aren't talking about, that's the Jim and the John and the you and I were talking about coaches and entrepreneurial organizations. Right. And to me, that's so much more exciting than, show me how you bring a canine down. Like, that's great. But I think just next leveling and finding a way to be fulfilled and happy, whether it be in our profession or out, I mean, it's a game changer. Yeah. And if you told me you're going to pay this amount of money and get this far ahead, it's worth it. Because now I hear a lot of our colleagues talk, and I have to not chime in because, I don't know. Some of them, I don't know that they realize the benefit that they could get, or, it's the Michael Jordan thing. If you tell you to shoot free throws that way, yeah, you do it. But, and I think that they should all look into that.
I think it takes time for people to get there too. I'm sorry. I think it's about balance, right? Some people get there sooner than others. I'm certainly still on my journey, but my feeling has been, and I've said it over and over again, and I made a tribute to one of my mentors, Vince Kokich, on Friday, because a picture popped up in my feed from 9 years earlier when he met me at my first AAO, and was like, look who's at his first, because he knew how long my journey was. And I always tell people the last major piece of advice I ever got from Vince Kokich Sr. before I left Seattle was, keep your life in balance, right? If your life gets out of balance, and he was a consummate balance kind of guy, if your life gets out of balance, if a plane gets out of balance, the nose will crash or the wing will tip or it'll fall backwards. And again, I'm really passionate about coaches in my life, both entrepreneurial and clinical and life. I mean, so yeah, it's important for me to be a better leader and a better manager, but it's also important for me to be a better father and a better husband. It's why I go see a therapist, right?
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying it's right for everybody, but my balance in life is I take courses as much as I can to be a better orthodontist, like sleep and airway, sleep disordered breathing, airway. I'll go see Stu Frost and take one of his courses on how to finish cases better. I'll go take a CBCT course. I will perpetually be learning ortho while I'm also perpetually trying to become a better person, while I'm trying to become a better father and husband. And as I always say, there are points in your life you're going to get out of balance. You're supposed to get out of balance. You have a new baby. Don't sit there and tell me you're going to the gym and focusing on ortho conferences as much as you are becoming a better parent, right? You buy a new practice, you'd better be focused. Your life had better be out of balance for the first 3 to 5 years in that practice. It doesn't mean you have to be a bad dad or mom, but you'd better be focused on that new baby of a practice, or it's going to crash. And I all too often see people buy practices or become an owner and be like, I'm going to be home at 5 o'clock because my kids matter. I'm like, are you out of your mind? Like, you're supposed to be out of balance for the next several years while you build the practice of your dreams. So when there are people out there who want to attack something clinically, and it's so crystal clear that they are not a balanced individual, it's very easy for me to say, it doesn't matter to me. Great. So you're a great clinician. Oh, or you made so much money, but you're a horrible clinician, or you're a horrible human being. Like, okay, great. You made lots of money. I don't need to listen to you. But if you're a balanced individual, even if you've made very little, or you're fresh out of school, if you're a balanced person, what you say to me means so much to me. I don't know if you're the same way or not.
And there's so many wise people in our profession that nobody knows their name, and they're really wise and have this synergy, really figured out. And on that note too, time management. I gave a talk last year of track your time. People tell me I don't have time. Have you ever tracked that? Have you ever literally tracked where your minutes go all day? Because that's just eye-opening too. I have
Facebook.
To delete Facebook. Yeah. Delete the stuff, go on a fast from Facebook. But I get that a lot too. I'm tired. I don't, and I'm like, I'm tired too. I got Hellcats and, always stuff going on, and all these relationships that you're maintaining in our profession, and then, at home, and then with school and all this stuff. So we're all busy, but I think, prioritizing and, that essentialism, if it's not essential, I mean, I delegate everything, to the point where people come here and your staff does that, someone does that. And I'm like, I'm a single mom. They're on the team. This is how many hours they work. And if it's not exactly how I want it, guess what I get? I get time. Like it might not be to my satisfaction, but I just got time back, and all day long I'll take a B in an arena to get more time.
It took me a long time to realize, as many drivers, yourself, myself, I was talking with Amanda Gallagher, like when you're a driver, right? It's very hard for you to recognize that your money is less valuable than your time is more valuable than your money. I want to put it that. I wanted to flip it rather than say your money is less valuable than time. Your time is more valuable than money. It means the same thing, but it just sounds better. And it's okay to pay somebody to do something for you to allow you to have more time. And I'm going to give you 2 words that changed my life, and everybody can listen to them. Virtual assistant. Virtual assistant. I've spoken about it so many times in the last 5 years. A virtual assistant, and if anybody wants to learn how to get one, let me know. I'll put you in touch with the agency I use. You will tell them what you need. You can have virtual assistants who are executive assistants who worked in the business world, and just decided they want to be a stay-at-home mom now, and they don't want to travel, or they don't want to be in big corporate America, but they've got skills. Like some are HR skills. Like I had a virtual assistant who would do all the initial interviewing for our practice before it would come to us. You can have a virtual assistant who is really good at setting up events. You can have a virtual assistant who's a jack of all trades, where I say, hey, I'm thinking of taking the family to Destin for spring break.
Figure that all out.
Find me the hotel, get me 3 hotels, show me why. I'll tell you to pick one, book the flights. Like we can be doing other stuff and letting people do it. And the amount they charge per hour is so little. If I said I could get you 10 hours more a week, is that worth $300? Is it worth $400?
Well, I need one because my in-person assistants in Austin are not cheap.
No,
so I'll get
you'll pay anywhere from $30 to $55 an hour, depending upon what you want. If they're $55 an hour, they might have graphic design background, and they're willing to help do copy and ads for your Instagram or for your other stuff. They might have copywriting skills to where they can write stuff on your like whatever in your life. So sorry, Jeannie, this is your podcast.
No,
you always inspire me. And
I mean, it's important. This stuff. People need to know about it.
You get my head like into another space because, we're like simpatico on so many things. There was Vince Pacente, also out of Dallas. He spoke at the virtual summit 2 years ago. He talks about us needing to live our lives in the high knowledge, high passion quadrant, right? Because you have high knowledge, low knowledge, high passion, low passion. There are things that we're really knowledgeable about, but we're not passionate about them. And we should be able to delegate those things. But we should live our lives, we should engineer our lives to live in our high passion, high knowledge area. Your kids, your family, traveling, or doing ortho. And if it's not in the high passion, high knowledge area of that box, you should figure out how to make it delegatable to somebody else. How do you get somebody else to take that thing off your plate so you can live all of your life in there? And let me tell you, sister, it ain't easy, but I'm trying to get there.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
What's the biggest challenge you face right now in your life? If you could overcome one obstacle in your life right now that you could delegate out, what would it be? Sorry for putting you on the spot.
I think it's finding an associate. I love to sell. I love to go into my consult. I love Airway. We're really passionate about some of these really challenging cases. I love business. I like to talk about business. I like to talk about marketing. I like to talk about any business, and then just leveling up. That stuff gets me excited. The everyday stuff. And it's funny because a lot of these doctors that sell to OSO is because they just want to do ortho. And I'm the opposite. I want to do the other stuff with my business. So I think finding the right fit as far as someone that wants to, hopefully grow to partner, like really be in it and learn from me, because, a lot of the new grads, they're not taught any of the stuff that a lot of us have evolved into with airway and aesthetics. So I don't mind mentoring and teaching, but I need someone that I think embodies the core values and wants to stay with us and grow with us. So that would be the thing, because everything else is great. We're going to implement some new technology, so maybe that will get me some free time. But my dream is 50 clinic days a year. The rest doing bigger and different things that I think bring me joy. So I might buy some yurts for the property and have a little retreat out there.
Have a
so
yurt retreat. Yeah, I like that.
You guys can come stay at my yurts. Yeah.
Ortho yurt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Orthodontics. That should be the name of your place.
I know.
Orthodontics. So there you had it, people. Before I say goodbye, if you're looking to move to Austin or you live in Austin and you're looking to be an associate in a progressive, entrepreneurial minded, good quality practice, you know exactly who to reach out to. And, we consider this like an ad for your practice right now.
Yes.
So everybody knows what they're getting involved in.
Call now.
Call now. Call the number.
Yeah.
opsummit2022.com.
Yes.
Operators are standing by. But seriously, Summit's going to be in Austin. Are you going to be at Summit? I hope so.
I'm going to be there. My team's going to be there. We're really excited. So
yeah, it would be funny if you're a speaker at Summit. You're like, no, don't think I'm going. Remind me, anybody who's going to Summit, remind me sometime to tell you the story of Doug Shaw, the MC of Summit, and me and Michael Reagan walking upstairs to the room to get Doug, who's about to go on stage. It's one of the funniest stories you'll ever hear, but you'll have to get it from me in person. And so, Jeannie, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for you being a part of this today. Whenever I'm around you, like John Pham, I always think you make me challenge my current beliefs and hopefully move into a new quadrant. And I just want to say thank you.
Likewise. Thank you.
Yeah. And until we do the third, you know, you get a robe.
Yes.
When you do 3, you get a robe.
Oh, really?
No, not really. But it sounds really cool.
I want one.
I think that
I'm going to embroider myself a jacket.
I didn't say jacket. I said robe, like a smoking jacket or
full on.
Yeah, full on. So I don't know who's been on 3 times, but I think Kyle Fagala I have to go check the records. He may be a 3-timer. So I'll have to go find that one out. But you could
That's
be
what
next.
I'm picturing his library with your remodeling. You need the smoking jacket in Kyle's library.
With a pipe in his hand and a drumstick in the other.
Pretty sure velvet blazers for third time.
Well, thank you so much, Jeannie. And until we meet again, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart on behalf of myself and for everybody listening. And just keep doing great stuff. And hopefully, maybe we got you an associate out of this.
Maybe, and I'll see you guys in Austin. I can't wait.
It should be fun. Have a wonderful day, and thank you again.
Thanks.